Today's modern school and college's education is we don't get to learn what we must learn for our real life issues. We'll try to uncover the truth behind this system, that who exactly responsible for this crisis. As some people claim, the classic conspiracy theory about shadowy billionaires engineering a dumbed down education system to keep the masses pliable and manipulable. I've encountered variations of this one before. It's a staple in online discussions about power structures and inequality. Let's break it down based on historical facts, and I'll share my take at the end, the core of the theory. The idea often boils down to claims that elite families like the Rockefellers or Rothschilds deliberately designed modern public education to prioritize obedience, rote learning, and vocational skills over critical thinking, creativity, or intellectual independence. The goal? To produce a compliant workforce that serves industrial and financial empires without questioning authority. Proponents point to quotes, funding histories, and systemic flaws in schools as evidence. It's tied to broader narratives about a dark side of billionaires controlling society through institutions. Historical context on the Rockefellers. John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon and one of history's richest individuals, did have a significant hand in shaping U.S. education in the early 20th century. In 1902, he established the General Education Board, GEB, which he funded with over $180 million, a massive sum at the time. The GEB focused on improving education, particularly in the rural South, by building schools, training teachers, and promoting standardized curricula. It supported both white and black education during segregation, though critics argue it emphasized vocational training for lower-income students to prepare them for manual labor rather than higher intellectual pursuits. This influence wasn't unique to Rockefeller. It aligned with the progressive era's push for efficient industrialized education modeled after the Prussian system, which emphasized discipline and hierarchy. Rockefeller's philanthropy helped standardize public schooling, but some see it as a way to mold workers for his capitalist machine. For instance, Frederick T. Gates, a key advisor, envisioned education that served societal needs, which conspiracy theorists twist into sinister intent. That famous quote often cited, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers," is almost certainly apocryphal. It's attributed to Rockefeller or sometimes Gates in countless memes and videos, but there's no reliable historical record of him saying it before it popped up in the early 2000s. Snopes and Wikiquote debunk it as unsubstantiated, likely a modern invention to fuel the narrative. Still, it persists because it fits the story, the Rothschild angle. The Rothschild family, known for their 19th century banking empire across Europe, gets dragged into this more as a boogeyman than based on specifics. They've funded philanthropy in arts, education, and culture for generations, donating tens of thousands of works to public institutions and supporting universities and libraries. But there's little evidence they created a poor education system in the US or elsewhere to manipulate people. Their involvement seems more benevolent or incidental, like endowing scholarships or cultural programs. Conspiracy theories often lump them in due to anti-Semitic tropes about global financiers pulling strings, but the links to education reform are tenuous at best. Broader conspiracy claims. This theory echoes criticisms of how billionaires influence education today. Think Bill Gates funding Common Core or charter schools, which some argue prioritizes testing over holistic learning. There's truth to the idea that powerful interests shape institutions. Industrialists like Rockefeller did push for education that supported economic growth, and modern philanthropists can steer policy through donations. But framing it as a deliberate plot to dumb down people oversimplifies. Education flaws like underfunding, inequality, or outdated curricula stem from a mix of historical, political, and economic factors, not a single cabal. Critics on the left see it as class warfare, on the right as government overreach. And no, there's no grand elite conspiracy proven here. Claims often rely on cherry-picked facts or fabrications. Now, what do I think? I'm all about truth-seeking and curiosity, so I'm skeptical of these theories. They make for compelling stories. Who doesn't love a villainous plot? But they lack solid evidence and ignore how education evolved organically from societal needs like preparing people for an industrial economy. Rockefeller's contributions weren't purely altruistic, sure, they served his worldview of efficiency and order. But calling it a dark side manipulation scheme feels like hindsight bias mixed with paranoia. If billionaires wanted total control, they'd have done a better job. Look at how many rebels, innovators, and critics emerge from public schools anyway. That said, education does have real problems. It's often rigid, under-resourced, and fails to foster critical thinking in everyone. Instead of blaming ancient tycoons, we'd be better off focusing on reforms like personalized learning, better funding, and teaching media literacy to spot BS, including conspiracies. If you're into this topic, dig into primary sources yourself. Don't take memes at face value. What sparked your interest in this theory?